to you from the Bangalore CDC, and joining us now is a very special guest, Mr. Madhusudan Shekar from Google Cloud. Welcome to W.Media, sir.
Hello. Nice.
Let's begin by talking about something that you were talking about during the networking, and you had a packed audience. You're practically eating out of your hands, and you were talking about something like failure. How can the digital infrastructure industry look at the concept of failure, and how can they bounce back from it?
Today, if you look at applications and the way we build software, there are a number of moving components, a number of moving parts. I mean, we talk about this concept called a microservices architecture, which is effectively taking a very large application and then decomposing it into smaller pieces. And so that, you're able to scale well. Because today, everybody wants to build applications, especially when you're facing the consumer, you can't predict how the usage would be. So as a result, people are building applications that can scale very quickly. And that would automatically require you to decompose applications in a particular mechanism. And it means you have a lot of moving parts in your application. The more the moving parts, the more the probability of failure. That's really what it is. I mean, you just have thousands of parts that are running everywhere across any number of machines. Something can fail, a storage can fail, the memory can fail, network can fail, network latency can be added. And all of these will cause other things that are dependent within your software stack to also fail.
Domino effect.
Domino effect, right? So something would fail. And when that failure occurs, there is a path to that recovery. Correct. So, and the hard part in classical application development processes that we traditionally use is that we test the functionality of an application, we do performance testing of an application, and many of these things do not give us a real-world view of where things can fail. Therefore, the next step is when an actual failure does occur, it gets really hard for the teams to come together to analyze the failure, learn from what actually happened, and also, provide a very quick fix, provide the necessary things that need to be fixed as is getting fixed. That's for now. But then start learning from, how do we prevent this from happening in the future? That's one part. Or from a behavioral and a team cohesion standpoint, how do we deal with everybody, each other, without any finger pointing, right? How do we fix this somewhere else? And an example I was giving you is, and I think a lot of people resonated with that, is that when you actually walk into in a building that's on fire, you see the fire servicemen working, they are shouting over their voice to communicate. But they're not pointing fingers at each other. They're not fighting with each other. Correct? You sit in an environment where an application has failed and get on the call, you see a very different behavior. You even see somebody blaming each other.
Yeah, it becomes a blame game.
Correct?
Right.
And that's not the context. Failures do occur. So instead of
perhaps it has to do with, assigning responsibility. We look at it as a blame game. Are they trying to assign responsibility?
That is post the problem has been fixed. First, you fix the problem.
True.
Then you can do a root cause analysis. You can identify the point of failure. The point of failure could be technology. The point of failure could be a whole set of random sequence of events. Again, technology, etc. It could be human, right? And when it is human, when you do a classical 5 why analysis and you sort of start double clicking into it furthermore, you will find there could be many. Yes, this particular human being was responsible. But why did that happen? When you get into that, you will suddenly find maybe that person did not have the context. Maybe that person was not trained. Maybe there was some point where we decided to take a technical debt to move forward with that pain, right? And it so happened that risk analysis pointed out that the probability of failure is low. We're still going to take that chance and move forward, and that probability manifested. The result of which is you have a failure, right? And in many of those conditions is where you start seeing the blame game. Right? There's a person who's being blamed, saying, "Hey, this risk was not properly identified," and the other person says, "I identified it in this document on that day in this place," and then this person is saying, "Yeah, but you didn't highlight it." So you get into a lot of it. That's not the space or place.
That doesn't lead to resolution at all.
The thing is, first fix the problem, to go back to the root cause analysis. What is our risk tolerance? Understand the risk tolerance. What is the penalties of that? How should we assess ourselves, and how should we build from there? That is that's a continuous learning process for every organization, and every team has to go through that process, and they have to learn from there. The more you do that, what is going to happen is you're able to build more and more reliable application. That's sort of where your resiliency, the other one that I was talking about, that is where your resiliency comes up. So as you learn more and more from your failures, you're able to fix your failures, your resiliency starts to improve, your application is more reliable, and customers who are using your application start to trust you more.
Resiliency and trust, in fact, was the topic of the address you delivered earlier today at Bangalore CDC. And I was wondering what makes you so passionate about these two subjects, and what should the approach of the digital infrastructure industry be towards resiliency?
So I've been talking about this term, which is extremely widely used, called digital transformation. Right? And it's a widely abused word also to a certain extent, right?
Why would you
It's
say
used
that?
in all kinds of contexts, right? Are we going to digital transform something, right? I'm not, okay, maybe not the word is abused, but it's very liberally used, remember it that way, extremely liberally used, right? And when you think of that term, digital transformation, at the end of the day, what it is you're saying, hey, organizations, businesses are going to engage with their customers and their partners in a digital mechanism. Right, across any number of touch points and anything that been whether it's sales, service, marketing, product and product services, etc. Right, you're going to engage with them in that fashion. When you're starting to engage with your customer directly on a digitally transformed space, those digital services are also your products. Right, you may not charge for them, but in essence, it is something that you are delivering to the customer for the customer, and the customer is consuming it in some fashion. When you get to that context, the customers have to now fundamentally start trusting you that what you are offering them is something that's reliable. And the more they start relying on you, the more they engage with you, the more they connect. That's really the goal of digital transformation. We want more engagement. We want the customers to be more connected to us. We want them to do more with us, etc., etc. If that is your goal, the customer should trust you more.
Absolutely.
Correct? So the game of digital transformation is actually a game of trust. You're trying to earn trust of the customer with your brand, messaging, product, services, etc. And there are many ways to earn the trust. My passion is in the area that says the way to earn trust is to be there for them. The less and less you become available to them at the time of their convenience, they trust you less.
Of course.
Correct? So, which means when I try to go to my online banking environment, when I try to go file a ticket, when I try to fill up a form, when I go to a website for information, when I use a mobile app, whatever I do, and all of these are digital products through which brands want to engage with someone as a consumer. In all of these environments, you want to ensure that those services are up, running, and available for the customer. So the example I was giving today was exactly the same construct, is that the customer has to feel absolutely confident that when I go there, I'm going to get it at this point. It could be middle of the night, it could be 4 a.m., it could be a Saturday, 5 a.m. in the morning. It is their time, their choice, their preference.
Of course.
And it has to be available and functioning at that time. And even if we communicate to them, hey, we are going to be down for a few hours up front. It may sound like, hey, I have told you not to be this thing, which is okay. But we have to understand that communication itself is a challenge. The customer starts thinking there is some time you are not available. Right? So that's a message you're parking with them, that there are days, there are times I am unavailable. And remember, the customers constantly raise the bar on.
But you have to manage your expectations.
You have to manage the expectation. You have to communicate. Another example I give a lot of people is, when you walk into a McDonald's, right? You expect to be served within 5 minutes. You walk in there, you order the food shows up and you want to eat. You walk into a nice restaurant, you're still getting food. But you don't want everything in 5 minutes. You want to sit there, enjoy the environment, dine, etc. In both cases, you're eating food. If McDonald's says it's going to take me 35 minutes to give you food, you're unhappy. You go to a restaurant, sit down, fine dining restaurant, and they shove the food in your table in 3 minutes, you're going to be unhappy.
That is so true.
right? This is true. So that is expectation management. When you see the big M, you know you're going to get your food in 5 minutes. When you see a fine dining restaurant, you know food is going to take 30 minutes. That expectation has been managed with you. The same thing happens in a digital environment. The trust is the fact that when I go somewhere to get something done, I need the services to be available to me the way I expect it to be available to me. That expectation is set. So, and in the digital world, the expectation and bar has been set substantial across many of the services that we consume every day, be it Google Search, Google Maps, etc. What you're experiencing is the fact that they are available 24/7.
But then AI has also played a huge role in making those services available, at least in your chatbots and your you type in your question, you get an answer. To an extent, AI has been helping that, right?
So AI comes to the next generation. So what is all that resilience and capability and trust that you build? Now AI takes this to a completely another level, right? And then what happens now is that customers not only are looking at the availability of the service in the form of AI, but the information that comes out of AI. What am I getting back? Because I'm now asking a question, I'm initiating a conversation, I'm initiating a set of capability, and the responses that I get and the way we get it, we want to be able to trust it. And this is where things are getting interesting in terms of how things are evolving in the industry. At Google, for example, we have Gemini now, and one of the key things in Gemini is we need to ensure that the responses that are coming out are not just correct, but we also have to ensure that they are safe, trustworthy, and you have the ability to tweak the right knobs to ensure that you're not passing information that could be detrimental or harmful to somebody.
Also, it can't just be information that is generic. It has to actually solve the problem. If a question is being asked by a customer, it has to be customized.
It has to be relevant as well. Yeah. So whenever you see answers that, remember, generative AI is still very, very early days.
Very nascent, yes.
Very nascent, very early days. So I'm sure you're going to read that in almost every place you're using it. You're going to see this nice disclaimers down there that says, hey, this is technology that's work in progress. And that's true with any technology that's work in progress, right? We're going to evolve through that. But today, there is a fantastic potential in terms of how we can take advantage of these technologies across various dimensions of what we do every day, right? The most foundational, the way I would put it is this. Previously, if a business wanted to take advantage of AI, the way they had to work with it is they had to build up a massive compendium of data and then train models and then use AI. Today, what happens with foundation models is you can start with a very small portion of data, which most businesses definitely have, and then take this foundation model, do some fine tuning on it with that small subset of data, and then you're ready to go. That means you can go from I didn't have anything to have a nice AI that can support my customers, that can support my employees, that can accelerate many aspects of my day-to-day work, etc., much more efficiently than it was. It's definitely a major productivity booster.
Availability of data has anyway never been a problem. I think knowing what to do with that data and processing it right, AI and ML are the big, huge game changers now.
Right. It's not availability of data alone. It's availability of good, reliable data is where many of the challenges came in, at least in most enterprises. We are crossing that threshold now, and you will see a lot of businesses taking advantage of it as we go along. And remember, the more people start trusting those AI agents, again, you want that resiliency. The trust component, digital transformation is about that trust. You want the responses coming out to be trustable. So you have to do what you have to do. In the case of the traditional applications, it was about resiliency, it's about security, it's about making sure things are available. As you come to AI, all of these variables plus the responses have to be trustable, the responses have to be tuned correctly.
There's also the fear factor as well, right? People still have fear factor when it comes to AI. There's that impact of ML on cybersecurity as well. So there are legitimate concerns there.
It is true. I mean, so you open another vector in the case of security. So you will have to work through that iteration of what you have to do to fix it. We open up new avenues for people to do different kinds of work, the kind of skills that's required for people to do what they have to do. All of these are new avenues and new opportunities for us, and we will evolve through that.
Wonderful. Speaking of evolution, I believe over the last 7 years, W.Media has also grown and evolved, and you've been a part of our journey. You were a speaker today, you delivered an address. What has been your experience like? And if you have a message for us as we complete our 7th year.
So I think it was a great event today. A lot of interesting conversations that was here, and the opportunities that we see. I mean, it's like we went through this entire journey on infrastructure, technology, etc., and then infrastructure became a commodity, applications became everything, etc. Now again with the whole advent of AI. Very deep down, even the data center is getting very interesting, right? I mean, for example, in India, if you're moving from 10 kilowatt per rack to almost heading towards 200 kilowatts per rack, that's a 20x boost on a per rack capacity that a lot of places have to boost, and there is a phenomenal opportunity that's present in front of us in terms of what needs to happen in the cloud, in the application space, and the kind of offerings we can have. And in India, again, we have 1.4 billion people, and AI gives us that interesting playing field through which we can offer, we can level the playing field for a lot of people.
True.
Right? We can uplift them in a dramatic way. And that's the opportunity in front of us. And we have to look at how we are going to enable all of that. And it starts with, the cloud and the data centers below, all the way going up to the data infrastructure, the applications and everything that happens over there. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this evolves over the next, I would say decade.
Wonderful. It was great talking to you. Thank you so much for your time. That concludes our series of exclusive interviews here at Bangalore CDC. See you in Dubai.